Chapter 20. Another dream. Feelings. The cry of battle. The shrouding dark encapsulated his vision, leaving Devon with the familiar void that he had witnessed before. He was expecting to see the light from afar, like the last dream, to come and tell him what was going on. He wanted to see the beautiful woman again. Devon would have done anything at this point just to see her once more. It felt so good being in her presence that he yearned for any part of that feeling to come to him. He did not know who she was or where she had come from, but he wanted to. With every ounce of his being, he wanted to know. He dreaded every time he went to sleep and she did not appear. It was discouraging not being able to ask her about what was going on. But with each dream came a new revelation about what may happen. The first dream about his mother startled him. The dream of the beautiful woman elated him. What this dream would do, he could only imagine, for it was starting to feel different from the ones before. A light began to pulse ahead of him. It was not the soft white light like before. This one was different. The light beat, slowly at first, its radiance illuminating with a deep red tone. It looked more like a warning. "Hello," he called out. "Are you there?" There was no response, just the steady pulsing of light. It kept its distance and did not approach him like before. Devon could not figure out why it remained so far away. This was not the dream he wanted, as he began to feel deep down that the beautiful blonde woman was not going to appear this time either. She was staying away. "Hello," he called out again. This time, his voice echoed into the void, giving shape to the area around him. The light flashed and then continued to beat again. Each burst of light continued to pulse out, growing faster in its rhythm. After a few moments, the light went from a blink to a strobe to an almost solid form. Devon took his eyes off it for a moment, the furious flash hurting his vision. Its violent effects were driving his mind crazy, giving him a strange headache. He reached up to hold his forehead, but the pain began to reshape into a buzzing sensation. Each sharp ping brought an amazing impression to his vision. Images began to show in his mind. They were fleeting at first, not lasting longer than a fraction of a second. Devon turned back to the light. The longer he stared, the longer the images lasted. He struggled to keep his eyes and mind focused, letting the images come to form. A large image of space appeared before him. There were many ships, all green in colour, poised to strike out at something he could not quite see past their massive display. A large obstacle was blocking his view. Then he realised it was not just an obstacle, but another ship as well. It was gigantic, a monstrosity surrounded by a sea of dots that represented the rest of the fleet. Is that the enemy? Where are they? The image changed amid the strobing lights. The sudden appearance of a woman's face flashed before him, her long, wavy white hair flowing amid her pale, youngish features. She stared at him, as if drawing him toward her stoic gaze. The woman's face disappeared, replaced by an image of a planet he had never seen before. It was immense. Most of its surface was barren and dry, a desert world lost to the cosmos. As the image grew larger, he could tell that very little life lurked about. The image drew into a few scattered remnants of what may have once been a great civilization buried in its past. A flash of a moon filled his eyes, large and ominous. As soon as it appeared, it fell into shadow, as if an invisible hand were pushing it away into obscurity. The light continued to flash its images, leaving Devon's mind mired in a quandary. He was finding it harder to concentrate. His wits were wearing down from what he was seeing. But he could not stop. He had to hang on. The more he saw, the more he could tell wonder. He had to keep watching for just a little longer. Another image appeared, leaving Devon feeling weak from what it showed him. It was of the first dream he had, the dream of hell. The red surroundings brought back the sickening feeling of what he saw there. A lone figure, cloaked in black, stood amongst the foul environment, peering up toward the clashing battle overhead. Devon shook. This can't be, he thought. He tried to reach for the figure as it turned its gaze upon him. Devon fell back, repulsed by what he saw. A pair of red eyes glared at him from underneath the hood. They burned with a fire that stunned him to the core. What happened to her? Why does she look like that? His mother sneered at him, throwing bursts of fire from her hands toward him. Devon wanted to scream out in rage from what he was seeing as the flames began to sear his body. The light flashed once again, and then all went dark. The light was gone, along with the images as well. Devon tried to calm himself. None of what he saw made any sense, save for the fact that this was the second time he had seen his mother in that hellish environment. He could not believe what he saw. He just could not accept it. That wasn't her, he thought. That couldn't be her. A large hole swirled open before him. The outer edges circled around, the effects drawing him toward the centre. Devon resisted at first, but his being slowly began to fall through into wherever it led. It twisted him in all directions like a taffy machine to a new batch of candy. It stretched him out to the farthest points of existence. The anguish of what he was going through was becoming unbearable. Like the flick of a rubber band, he propelled out of the other end toward the familiar blackness of space. All was calm, silent. Devon glanced around, not sure of where he was. Millions of stars encircled his being, each one as bright as the next. Everything was so beautiful, clearer than the clearest night sky he had ever seen. It was a minuscule feeling in comparison, as Devon looked at himself in scale to the entire universe that surrounded him. He did not feel overwhelmed by the size of it, but rather as if he could touch the edges, embrace the bounds of which he could not see. Yet there was more. His mind fled past the boundaries of the known. It led to other things, things that he had only dreamt of before. There was a place, up beyond the veil of dark, swirling mists, past even the limits of mortal sight. He could sense it. He could feel that it was there. He felt connected to something that he could not see, could not touch, could not even identify, but somehow he knew. Something larger, more important waited beyond what appeared before him. But where is she? Why won't she appear to me again? The only answer he received was the appearance of a large object hovering over his head. Devon turned to gaze at the dark form of the end run passing silently before him. Its massive form floated by, wandering among the stars in search of her foe. There was a slight tingle to Devon's midsection, as if something were drawing him back toward the ship. His exhaustive state was too weary to do anything now but rest, as he fell back into the comfort of the awaiting dark. Devon lifted himself up from his bed as the suddenness of waking caught him by surprise. By far that had been the most bizarre dream he had ever had. He sat in amazement, the imagery still very vivid within his mind. It all seemed so real. Every detail, every nuance, he could recall in an instant. Were those images of what is to come? Where was the beautiful woman? Why are the images of my mother getting worse? Devon could not figure it out. For some reason, this dream was different. There was an extreme urgency this time, as if he needed to experience what he was about to go through before it happened. But the most important question still lingered in his mind. Why? A small beep sounded from the door of his small room, distracting his mind, reminding Devon of where he was, in his small living quarters aboard the end run. Shaking off his dream, Devon propped himself up to sit. Just the scene of his cramped quarters was enough to put a small smile on his face. He was a starfighter pilot now. There was a feeling of tremendous elation for Devon being aboard a starship such as the End Run. It was a marvel of wonder at first, as he had enjoyed walking around, exploring the corridors, and trying to familiarise himself with where he needed to be, namely the hangar, the lavatory, and the galley. But after getting lost a few times and spending part of that first day stuck in a storage room, he decided to keep low and stay in his own room. It had been 2 days since they left Alterra. The ship was heading out to the far edge of Alterian space, looking for the enemy. Yet Devon felt safe, secure at least with the notion that whoever the enemy really was, they would get one hell of a fight with his newfound friends. If there was one thing that he noticed about the Alterians, was that they had an aggressive side to them that yearned to be released upon provocation. He noticed it. Even though they appeared mild-mannered in their peaceful lives, there was an underlying quality to them, the quality to act humanly. The beep sounded once more. Devon stood and pressed the button. The door opened, revealing a lone person in the corridor. It was Kaya. Devon was relieved to see her, but even that was laced with a small amount of trepidation as well. "Hi," he told her. Kaya stared at him. Her cheeks had a reddish tinge to them, her eyes averting at the sight of his. "Hello," she replied. Devon moved to the side of the door. "Come in, please," he offered. Kaya walked into the smaller room. Her heart sank at the sight of the cramped space. Her own quarters was at least 5 times the size. Although she was now an officer, she wished that they treated her guest a little better. She sat down on the small bed, giving a quick glance to everything around. "How's everything going?" Devon asked. Kaya glanced at him and then back at the ground. Fine, she replied. "I've been in so many meetings about the same thing, it's starting to become a bit unbearable, though. How are you?" Devon sat next to her on the bed. He could tell she had something on her mind, but appeared a bit hesitant to say much. "Oh, I'm doing all right," he replied. "Braum has been taking me out flying several times every day on small patrol duty. It's been incredible. I mean, I'm actually flying a spacecraft. What more is there to say?" Kaya laughed. It brightened her spirits to hear how excited he was about something that she so easily took for granted. She did not have the heart to tell him that she had been flying spacecraft since she was a young teen. But it also made it that much harder for her to be here with him. She turned her eyes back to the ground, not knowing where to go from here. "So," added Devon, "no reply from Wanda yet?" Kaya shook her head. "No," she replied. "I'm beginning to get the feeling that maybe she abandoned us." Devon felt surprised by the comment. Had she? Did she come out all this way just to vanish once something started to happen? "Really?" replied Devon. "I'd been thinking that maybe with us gone, she would have a harder time finding us. Assuming she's looking, that is. Maybe she's just trying to find a way to reach us." Kaya turned to him. She could tell he was still trying to be optimistic about it all, despite the fact that they were deep into outer space. It appeared that he did not feel stuck with the obligation of duty like she did. "I don't think anyone has given me more hope to think otherwise than you," she admitted, feeling the strong urges deep inside her. "I guess I look pretty silly, thinking the worst of things sometimes." "No, not at all," he replied. Devon turned more to face Kaya. She looked disheartened, but then why would she be here if not just to be cheered up? His mind went back to the conversation he had with Braum. "I think you're a great person, who's had some interesting challenges in her life." Kaya laughed some more as she began rocking back and forth. "Oh, you make it sound so pretty," she teased. "If only I could see it like you do." "Oh, you can," he replied. "You just have to have a little faith, that's all." Kaya nodded, appreciating his words of encouragement, something no one had given her in a long time. "Well, I'm glad you're taking all this so well," she said. I thought that maybe you might have become a little frustrated by what has happened." "It is frustrating," he replied. "Don't get me wrong there. I guess I just have to use a little patience before something presents itself." The optimism was losing its effect on her as Kaya started talking from a place that was foreign to her. Her heart. "I'm sorry about what's happened," her eyes turning to his. "I didn't mean for you to get mixed up in all of this." Devin glanced around his room. "I'm not," he replied. "This has been the experience of a lifetime. I just wish I knew what was going to happen next." "Do you?" she replied, leaning more toward him. Devin gulped. Yeah, don't you? Just think about it. We could be going into battle before we know it." Kaya continued to stare at him as something occurred to Devin. "That's why she's here." "It's scary, isn't it?" she asked shyly. Devin nodded. He did not want to admit it too much, but it did scare the hell out of him. "Yes," he replied. "Hey, that Braun, though. He sure is a nice guy, isn't he?" Kaya froze. "You know," he continued, "I think you might be surprised by the way he's changed over the years." Kaya withdrew her gaze, feeling her anger begin to boil over. "Why are you saying such things?" she fumed. Devin could hear the hurt in her voice. Just the mere mention of her former beau caused her extreme grief. "You know, I did have a nice little talk with him," he told her. "He still has feelings for you." Kaya began to fidget in her place as he could tell she was getting angrier. "And you don't," she replied, her tone lower. "What about me? What about my feelings?" Kaya bowed her head, her shoulders trembling from emotional exertion. Devin closed his eyes, noticing his two mistakes: not being sensitive to someone who needed it, and for being an idiot. "I'm sorry," he told her. "I didn't notice that you had feelings for me. I thought maybe, just maybe, you still liked him." Kaya turned her head, not understanding why he had felt that way. "What makes you say that?" "I could tell just by the way you look at him that maybe something is still there," he explained. "You wouldn't be so angry if there wasn't a small part of you that still cared." Kaya sighed. She knew he was right. Deep down inside, she did feel a little remorseful for her actions toward Braum. A smile crept over her face. "He did deserve it, though," she muttered. Devin chuckled. "I have no argument with you on that one." Kaya heaved a small laugh as well. It was good for both of them to release their tension. She dared herself to look at Devin once more. There was just something about the person before her that made her feel so good. He was handsome and strong. He had a great presence about him, a good sense of humour. The more she thought about it, the more he reminded her of the man she fell in love with long ago. The emotional build-up within her began to rise, wondering if she still had feelings for the big brute after all this time. Her heart sunk with the thought that maybe she did. She just didn't want to admit it. Nor did she even want to think about it right now. It was something she just could not deal with at the moment. "I thought that maybe, since you've been here, that—" Kaya stammered, trying to find the right words to say. "That I may have feelings for you as well?" Kaya looked down once again, nodding in silence. Devin pursed his lips, knowing he had to be very careful with what he was about to say. "I have to admit, I would be a fool not to say that you are one of the most beautiful women I have ever met," he told her. Kaya blushed. "It would also be very foolish of me not to admit that I do have feelings for you." Kaya raised her eyes to his once again, almost not believing what she was hearing. "Do you? But you have to realize something," he added. "I'm not from here, and I don't belong. It scares me to think that I may never be able to see my family again. I mean, I just don't—" Devin stopped. Not because he wanted to, but because her lips were on his. Kaya took a chance. She did not know what to say or how to say it. She just did it. She kissed him. This time no one was watching. It was as sincere of a kiss as she had encountered in a long time. Devon did not struggle. He just accepted it, feeling very thankful that he did not have to find another excuse not to. This time he could tell that she meant it. Kaya released the lock, pulling back only enough to look into his eyes. They were as blue as the clearest oceans she had ever seen. She could have gotten lost in those eyes, but they did not reflect back what she was looking for. Kaya's vision began to blur as her head swooned to the side. Before she knew it, she fell helplessly into his arms. Devon held her, knowing the emotional struggle she was going through. He wished he could feel different right now and be what she was looking for, but he knew he could not. Something deep down inside was telling him that this was not right. It was that old familiar feeling, telling him that he was not worthy of her attention, that she was better off with someone who knew how to take care of her. Kaya sniffed back a few tears as she began to laugh at herself. "I feel like such a loser right now," she confessed half-heartedly. "What does that say about me?" Kaya reached up and gave him a small push. "Not a whole lot," she teased. Devon shook his head as a small bit of relief overtook him. At least now she was feeling better. He could not bear to think about how ugly the situation could have become. But that at least made him feel good, for he had seen the bad side of letting someone know his innermost feelings. Kaya reached over and hugged him once again. Feeling his strong embrace gave her a good sensation of being safe and protected. "Are you hungry?" Devon leaned back to think. He had not had much to eat since arriving on the ship. For one, he did not know the path to the galley very well yet. It took him an hour once after trying to follow the ship maps along the corridor walls. It was one of the many things that Braum had failed to show him when they first came aboard. "Now that you mention it," he replied. "Yeah, I am pretty hungry." Kaya stood up as she held out her hand, which Devon accepted. Just as they made their way into the corridor, an alarm rang out over their heads. Red lights began to flash along with the blaring signal as an announcement came through the general intercom. "All personnel to their stations. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Incoming enemy ships from sector AZ10G7 and closing. All pilots report to the hangar immediately." Devon froze as the rushed message ignited a frenzy of action all around. Kaya just stared at him, neither of them unwilling to move. It was easy to see by the look on her face what she would have him do, but it conflicted with what he wanted to do, also with what he was expected to do. "Devon, you don't have to go," she told him. Devon stood there debating her words. Kaya was right. He could just as easily stay here and hope things turned out for the better. But that was not him. That was not what he was hoping for. He was not a hider. He was a strider. Something an old coach once told him years ago. "What? And hide under my bed until it's over? You know I can't do that," he replied. Kaya's eyes grew wide, shocked at his willingness to risk his life. Shaking her head, she tried to protest as the alarm and announcement began to blare out once again. It was all Kaya could do to contain the enragement she harboured for him, wanting to go out and be a hero. Without thinking, she reached up and kissed him once more, this time with the force of passion. He was going to realise her feelings for him, whether he liked it or not. Devon wrapped his arms around her. He could tell she was angry, but she still cared. They released their lock for the last time as they began to go their separate ways. Kaya looked back at him, hoping this would not be the last time she would see him. Devon turned to her as well. "You come back safely," she ordered him, "or Braum will be the next to fall after you." Devon nodded, knowing she meant what she said. Kaya had taken it upon herself to watch over him since Wanda was still nowhere to be found. But there was something else. She did care for him after all. "I will, I promise," he assured her. And with that, he disappeared down the hallway. Kaya stood there, not knowing whether to be happy or sad for what was happening. Regardless, she was going to face Braum again and give him the worst berating he had ever seen. Just for the briefest of moments, her mind began to play over the last time she abused him with her verbal skills. The hangar was bustling with people as many fighters were already preparing to launch. Devon opened his locker and put on his flight suit. A big hand caught his shoulder as Devon looked up to see a wild Braum staring back at him. "Where have you been, hotshot? We need to beat Cheeks now," he roared. Devon agreed as he finished dressing in a hurry. Braum grabbed him by the arm as the two of them raced across the flight deck, just as two ships went barreling down, shooting off into space. Devon paused for a second to watch the ships become specks at the end of the hangar. It was a sight he could never grow tired of watching. Braum jumped into his cockpit. Devon did the same as he fastened his restraints. The dome around the cockpit slid backward, sealing him inside. Devon put his helmet on, flipped on some switches, and prepared for takeoff. "Com check," said Braum through the helmet speaker. Devon raised his thumb. "Loud and clear," he replied. "Oh hey, I got a chance to talk with Kaya." Braum stopped what he was doing as he turned to Devon. He was almost speechless, as the big man could barely reply. What did she say?" Devon chuckled at the thought of finally being able to get under the ego's skin. "Dude," he replied, "she loves you." With that, his ship shot forward, speeding ahead out of the hangar. Braum watched, contemplating the idea with a smile, before setting his ship to launch as well. The door to the bridge opened as Kaya hurried out and took her place next to one of the science stations. Ree was sitting next to her, watching the scene with excitement. "Hi, Kaya," she told her. "Isn't this cool? I can't believe we've got such a great view of things up here." Kaya nodded, trying to play off the details of Ree's enthusiasm. "Yes, it's very nice," she replied. "Status report?" The officer stationed next to her transferred his data over to her terminal. "Multiple fighters along with warships heading for our position," replied the young officer. "ETA, 5 minutes. Kaya took a deep breath. She turned to look at Captain Tomler. He was over in the corner, conversing with the first officer. He did not appear too interested in what was transpiring outside the ship. To Kaya, he should have been barking out orders and getting everyone ready for the oncoming battle. Kaya turned to Ree. "Hey, what's the captain doing? Shouldn't he be preparing for the battle?" Ree's eyes lit up as she turned to her befuddled cousin. "It seems as if he's quite comfortable with that new shield thingy," replied Ree. "The what?" asked Kaya, feeling annoyed by the poor description. "The automated circular defense switch," the officer next to her explained. "The next evolution in ship's defense. It repels almost any bombardment from small crafts and warheads." Kaya flashed a surprised look. "Then what do they need us for?" The officer shrugged. Kaya began to sense that hopeless feeling, as if she was the brunt of a bad joke once again. There was no practical purpose for them to be there at all. "Captain?" asked Kaya. Tomler flinched, but refused to acknowledge her after sensing who it was. Kaya gritted her teeth. "How dare he ignore me?" she huffed. She turned an eye to Ree, who seemed quite complacent with doing nothing. Kaya hated to do it, but she had to get the captain's attention. "Ree," she asked, her voice sounding sweet, "would you mind asking the captain if our assistance will be needed for this encounter?" Ree turned to her, the redhead's eyes flaring with excitement. It had seemed like forever since Kaya, or anyone else for that matter, had asked her to stand up and do something. She pointed at herself, just to make sure she wasn't hearing things. "Me?" she asked. not quite believing what she heard. "Go ask him?" She pointed to the captain. "Yes," replied Kaya. She knew how to get Ree to do what she needed. They both turned to the two high-ranking officers at the far end. Ree stood up, asserted herself, and walked over to engage her target. Kaya smirked, knowing that her poor cousin would be more than likely yelled at for getting in the way. At least it would not be her that they would be yelling at. Kaya's thoughts drifted to her plan to take Devin, steal a shuttle, and escape this horrible scene as soon as possible. "I should have never gotten him involved," she kept telling herself. Captain Tomler jested with his first mate as the two were oblivious to what was going on outside. They seemed to have a lot of faith in their newfound technology, secure in the knowledge that the ship was safe behind a near impenetrable defence. Kaya eyed her cousin as she was almost to her inevitable destination. "Captain, a second wave of fighters has been detected, port side, 50 millisectors away." Tomler turned to address the communications officer. "Tell Brom to intercept. Course setting—" "What the—" The captain turned right into Ree, sending her reeling backwards from the bump. Her arms flailed about as she threw them back to brace herself from falling against the panel behind her. "Auto-defense sequence deactivated," blared a computerized voice. "Initiating manual defense weapon parameters. Shield fortification disabled." "What the hell?" the first officer yelled. There was a gasp of air as sparks flew up from behind Ree, scaring her more than the angry stares from the ranking officers. Captain Tomler turned to see Ree hovering over his station like a fear-stricken marsupial. "Hey you!" he yelled. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Ree glanced around in nervous fright. "Just asking if I could be of any help," she replied, although it sounded more like a question than a reply. A few officers pushed her out of the way, trying to get the sequences back online. Ree turned and walked back, taking her seat next to Kaya, who shrunk back into her chair. Her cousin turned to her with big, surprised eyes. "Guess it was a bad time to go and ask that, huh?" Kaya just stared at her, still shocked by what she had done. That old, familiar, sinking feeling began to form in her gut. Ree was the farthest thing from a good luck charm that anyone could have ever asked for. At least now, it appeared that the captain was very worried about the situation. The technicians looked flustered by what had happened. They tried to get the auto-defense system back online, but things did not look like they were going to improve any time soon. And that made Kaya wish more than anything that she were invisible. The darkened chamber of the bridge glowed with an eerie light that emanated from the view screen. A large, beastly reptilian creature watched in anticipation, as they had come across their foes unawares. He took in great satisfaction that his fleet had been selected to formally engage the hated enemy before any others, making him the envy of his peers. "Captain," said one of the bridge crew, "all flocks of fighters are engaging the enemy. Shall we follow in with the cruisers?" The reptilian captain stared coldly at the crew member, his hollowed gaze peering from behind his eyeless face. The disfigured officer quaked from the sight, as not even his own image had degraded to such a state as the captain. Most of his skin was gone, leaving the gruesome sight of his insides to all who dared look at him. "Negative, let the fighters clear the way," the captain replied with a growl. "I want them to feel as if they have a chance before we unleash our wrath." "Captain!" another officer cried. "The enemy's ship defences just went offline. Their shields are down." The captain turned to the view screen, his anger rising as if the enemy had just slighted them with a mockery of his statement. Then his mood lightened, feeling as if an excellent opportunity had just presented itself. A pleasurable gurgle dwelt deep within his throat at the mere thought of victory. "Alert the bombers," he ordered. "Tell them to stand by. Our plan is advancing quicker than I had anticipated. We shall have our victory, and we shall cherish every moment of it." The crew carried out his orders as the captain rose from his chair. How I've yearned for the chance to watch the pathetic humans fall before our presence. We have waited a long time for this moment. Let us not be hasty in the heat of battle. The crew acknowledged in silence as they prepared for the oncoming fight. I will claim the first victory for our race. Let them feel the rage of revenge. Let them know what it is like to die at the hands of the Raelians.